how's it going?
Hi.
So what do we have here?
I brought you some beautiful historical books. These are the 1814, 1815 publication of the Naval History of the United States that are signed by President John Adams.
Oh, sweet. Okay, you had me scared there for a second, because with the boxes, I thought they were like atomic secrets there for a minute.
I'm coming in today to sell my Naval History of the United States books. They're leather-bound, they're signed by the publisher. They also have book plates from John Adams' personal library. I'd like to sell the books because I feel that they should be in a museum or in a special collector case somewhere.
So this is the history of the United States Navy. That's cool.
Yes.
We had the most high-tech ships in the world. The USS Constitution had the nickname Old Ironsides. That's because in the War of 1812, a British frigate fired on it. The cannonballs bounced off the side of it.
That's awesome.
And it got the nickname Old Ironsides. So we have...
Inside of each book is a book plate from the personal library of President John Adams.
Whoa, that's fancy.
The publisher signed these books and gave them as a gift to President John Adams, right here.
Okay.
There's one other additional fact, too. Right here, the books have been given to Lieutenant Charles Thomas Clark, and they are signed from President Adams.
That is cool. These books are amazing. They're the history of the United States Navy, when we've only had a Navy for right around 20 years. And to me, it adds so much if this actually belonged to John Adams, the guy who basically invented the U.S. Navy. How much were you asking for them?
$200,000.
I've sold books that belonged to early presidents for a lot of money before. So let me call up a friend of mine. If there's anybody on the planet who will know everything about these, it will be her.
Okay,
So,
sounds great.
Give me a few minutes. I'm going to give her a call. I will get her down here, and she can nerd out on them, okay?
Wonderful. I look forward to talking to an expert to see what they think about these amazing books.
This is the Uber book nerd I was telling you about.
Wonderful.
And you have something for me to nerd out?
Yes, we have 2 books from President Adams' library. She wants a lot of money for them, and I don't know, they're books. There's a million and one questions.
Oh. Presented as a mark of respect to His Excellency John Adams, Esquire, by the publisher. That's nice. I mean, it's part of the history of how this book came to be in the first place. This is Clark's naval history. There's a close connection that John Adams has to this book. So Thomas Clark was an acquaintance of his, and he encouraged Clark to write this naval history in the first place.
Oh, that's so cool.
This is post-War of 1812. This is the second edition. And the first edition was only in 1 volume, and the second edition was greatly revised and expanded. And you know where those revisions and expansions came from? John Adams talking to both Clark and the publisher, Carey, about what he felt should be included. So as far as the type of volumes you could have that were once in John Adams' library, this is pretty interesting.
Okay.
People love presidents, and the Founding Fathers in particular formed a nation based on intellectual ideas that they were reading. So if you have a book that one of these Founding Fathers was reading, it's kind of a big deal. But this is kind of a problem, because when the provenance is here, and then it is modernly attached here, there can be questions about whether this originally went with that. Lucky you, this has evidence of offsetting, which is only going to happen over a very long period of time. These were together. And this is the right bookplate for John Adams. And there are no red flags for me as far as tampering that it could have been added on modernly.
Okay.
But there is one problem. The thing that gets people really excited is when you have writing in the person's hand. This is not John Adams' hand. And this is 1817. Adams suffered from palsy. He very often wouldn't write things himself. You can still find letters from this time, but he had secretaries do a lot of his writing. That means you're losing one of the major reasons that people collect such a volume. So, for that reason, I would evaluate this more around the range of 10 to 12,000.
Okay.
Wow.
Thanks. You're the best.
Glad to help.
Thanks. Thank you.
Take care. Where I work, we sell autographed letters by John Adams. I'm very familiar with his autograph. I'm very familiar with his handwriting. It's something that I can recognize immediately. And that's what I did not see when I opened the book today.
So, do you have another figure besides 200,000?
The lowest I would go is about 50,000.
Yeah, and the most I'm gonna go is 10.
There you have it.
Thanks for bringing them in.
Hey, oh, cool.
Appreciate it.
It's nice to learn about them. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
It's unfortunate that we couldn't make a deal, but I'm pretty sure I'll find a good home for them anyway.
What's up, Corey?
Come on down this way.
I got some stuff you guys are gonna love. I got 5 items, 2 action figures, 1 for each of you to play with, a lunchbox, board game,
Okay.
and the TV guide, all signed by Dan Haggerty, the Grizzly Adams.
You see the resemblance? He looks just like Corey.
Yes, I do.
Step off the beer, all right?
I gotta be honest with you, I didn't really watch the show at all. I've met Dan Haggerty a handful of times, very nice guy, big guy. But the show itself, I didn't really pay attention to. I'd like to get $100 an item. There's 5 there, so that would be 500.
This is definitely cool. I liked this show when I was a kid. Did you ever watch Grizzly Adams?
Barely. I remember him living in the woods with a bear, and that's about it.
This was loosely based on a real guy that had the nickname Grizzly Adams. This guy was in the Sierra Nevada mountains back in the 1800s and actually had some pet bears. He used them for like pack animals, and he took people out on hunts and things like that. And P.T. Barnum heard about him, eventually hired him, and did the trained bear thing in the circus. And then in the 70s, they came out with a movie. It was a colossal hit, and they made it a TV series. When the movie The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams hit the screen in 1974, it was a smashing success. And after the huge success of the TV series MASH, it was pretty common for big hit movies to turn into a TV series. The action figures are cool. I like them because they're still in the packaging. Lunchbox is cool. Does it have the thermos? Yes, it does. And he even signed the thermos.
No way. Ah, bonus.
TV Guide, #1 magazine in the United States. They used to make 50 million copies a week.
Nice.
So it's not exactly rare.
But it's signed.
By Dan Haggerty.
How much do you want for it?
1, 2, 3, 4, $500.
No. It's cool stuff. It's from the 70s. It's all in the box. But the problem is, it's Grizzly Adams. It's not Star Wars. Okay?
But it's still got a value.
I'll give you $150 for all of it.
What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
See, Davey, here's the great thing. You don't know anywhere else to bring this.
No, I don't.
You have no idea what it's worth. So guess what?
You get $200.
$200.
Oh, you came up a little bit.
I'll give you $200.
You know, this isn't fair. 2
Take
against
it somewhere
1.
else.
Look, it's like,
You want the 200?
no.
See ya.
Wait.
$200. If you
Come
want it,
on,
I'll get it.
I'll buy lunch, $250.
$200.
All right, give me 200.
All right, deal. I'll meet you over there.
What a tough grind.
Pack it up and go over there, dude.
All right, dude. I'll get even, you know that. I try my hardest to be a tough negotiator with them, but the guys definitely beat me up, and it was 2 against 1. I had to just fold. You can't win.
Hey, how's it going? Fine. I have an Ansel Adams print I'd like you to take a look at.
From the Adams family?
Not really, but
A different Adams family.
I decided to come to the pawn shop so I could sell my Ansel Adams print because I could really use the money. I just want at least $1,500, and I'm hoping it's worth more.
So where did you get this?
I actually worked at the San Jose Mercury News, and this is something that they were going to get rid of.
Is Ansel Adams hot right now?
He's always been hot. He's sort of like the first guy that brought photography to a real art form, and that's why they're expensive. Understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Ansel Adams is one of the greatest landscape artists of all time. His black and white photos are iconic. But don't let the posters at your doctor's office fool you. Original Ansel Adams are worth a lot of money.
I know it did run in the San Jose Mercury News in 1962.
Okay, it says Photographing Yosemite by Ansel Adams for photograph or lithograph. Have you seen it in any books or anything like that?
Not this one, no. I've never seen it anywhere.
This might be worth a lot of money. A guy recently bought some negatives at a yard sale that some people say are original Ansel Adams negatives. They could be worth a fortune. The jury's still out, but it sparked all kinds of interest in Adams' work and yard sales. All right, so what do you want to do with the photograph?
I'd like to sell it.
How much did you want to get out of it?
There were some prints that I found on the internet that were actually smaller than this, that they were asking $1,500 for. So $1,500 plus.
I mean, it might be a reasonable figure. I can have a friend look at it. He can tell us something about it.
Definitely.
Ansel Adams can be worth a lot of money. Let me get him in here. He'll take a look. We'll figure it out.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I think the expert's going to tell me it's worth at least $1,500. I'm hoping to make a lot of money.
Ansel Adams, very nice. Ansel Adams is probably the most famous photographer of the 20th century. He really bridged the gap from photography to fine art. He kind of broke through that ceiling. This is quintessential Adams. His Yosemite pieces are really what put him on the map. So this is definitely right in line with that body of work. Do you mind if I take a look?
Not at all.
Okay. Yeah, it's not in great condition. This was a piece intended for reproduction. And you can tell that it was used in that capacity. You can see the markings on it. Ansel Adams used to have a famous expression where the negative was the score and the print was the performance. On most of his pieces for reproduction in newspapers, he would have some sort of a stamp on here, return to artist. The reason for that is he didn't want an image like this to be seen. And the fact that it was reproduced in a large capacity, I think, gives it a little bit of collectability.
Right.
But as a fine art piece, a connoisseur of Ansel Adams' works wouldn't look twice at this. It's not on photographic paper. It's not a piece that he signed off on as gallery presentable.
So what do you think it's worth?
Somewhere in the $300 range.
Okay. Thanks.
Hey, Rick, my pleasure. Thank you. Sorry,
you.
Dave. Thank you.
Well, that's what I wanted to find out.
Okay, well, you found out. And I would give you like $200 for it.
$200?
I'd spend $50 getting it framed. I'd ask $400 for it. There's just not a lot of money there.
You know, I think for $200 I'll keep it.
Okay. Thanks for bringing it down. It was great looking at it.
Okay, thank you. Tell you the truth, I'm a little disappointed. Obviously, I hoped for more than $200. I'll frame it and display it in my own home. It's a done deal.
Hey, so what do we got here?
I have a letter from John Quincy Adams.
John Quincy Adams,
Yeah.
huh? 1822, he was Secretary of State then?
Yes, and he was president in 1824.
Well, he was elected in 24, and then there was no inauguration until March.
Okay.
Because they didn't want to travel in the wintertime.
I found it in a box of items that I got from my uncle when my uncle passed away. I'd like to get $6,000 for it. I would drop down to $5,000, but that'd probably be the least I'd take.
Well, cool. One of our more interesting presidents, I would say he was probably the first career politician president. And the reason we call him John Quincy Adams is because his father was John Adams, you know, one of the founding fathers. And we don't want to get confused.
Right.
He was his father's secretary. He traveled with his father all over Europe. So this was a president who knew how to speak like 4 different languages, but a diplomat his entire life.
Right.
And even after he lost his re-election, 2 years later, he was elected to Congress and served the rest of his life in Congress. And literally, he had a stroke right there on the floor of the House of Representatives and ended up dying a few days after that. On top of being a great diplomat, John Quincy Adams was one of the first presidents who was openly anti-slavery. Remember, this was a guy running for president. He had to get the North and the South to vote for him. So what is this letter about?
This letter actually pertains to a census that was taken, and they included 16 to 18-year-old undocumented immigrants that were here, and they had to go back and fix it to the proper census.
So basically we have here John Quincy Adams being Secretary of State, sending a letter saying, you did the census wrong, redo it.
Right.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
A letter signed by the president, the content is so important.
Right.
If you had a letter by Abraham Lincoln talking about freeing the slaves, that is worth a lot more than Abraham Lincoln complaining that his bathroom doesn't work. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, the content does matter.
So things like this are always scary to me because it was just common practice to have your secretary sign everything for you. You're a busy guy.
Yeah.
Or this was back in the 1800s. The president might have been drunk. But the paper looks right. The ink looks right. Have you checked this out at all?
I have. I've done some background on my own
Okay.
on the internet. I did match up his signatures and things like that.
Okay, I'm assuming you want to sell it.
Yes. I was looking for $6,000.
This is actually great shape. You're lucky because this has obviously been under glass for a very, very long time. Do you mind if I call someone in?
No, not if it's going to help us. I'd like to make sure it's real, too.
All right, I'm going to call him up.
Okay.
Hang out a few minutes, maybe buy something.
Okay.
I got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history behind this guy. I mean, he's pretty much groomed to be the president of the United States at some point in time. And this guy really stood out, you know.
Okay, so is it his signature? Did he write the letter, and what's it worth?
And we'll look at a few things. First thing I'm going to do is look at the signature under magnification. I want to look at the ink. And I could see this is using a quill, this overlapping on here, especially right in this area. You know, we know this is live ink. And what I did bring along today are several examples. It's really flowing. It's a very beautiful signature. Here's one example, and we see some similarities tying in here. And what I want to do on this one especially is look at his last name. And I'm starting to see the same thing over and over again.
Because that's actually abbreviated.
And this makes sense where he would do an abbreviation to this as well, and everything matches up pretty well here.
Okay.
From everything I could tell, we're talking about a piece signed by the 6th President of the United States, which is kind of cool. All right. The letter itself, you have a lighter ink, you have a darker ink on here, in 2 different pressures.
Right.
In this case on here, and this is pretty simple, and it's something that, you know, I've studied a lot, this isn't his writing. Could have been written by a secretary. Back then, they called it signed by proxy.
And you think that just because the differential between the...
Well, I mean, there's several factors. Obviously, the ink, but also just the style of writing. It's not his.
So, what's it worth?
If it was 3 years later, a handwritten letter by him could go for $5,000 to $10,000 as a sitting president. But this is Secretary of State. It's a little less significant. Stuff like this typically runs at about $1,600. They don't go for much more than that.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, good luck. Thanks.
Thanks.
John Quincy Adams, he's a collectible autograph, you know, mostly just for presidential collectors. I mean, is he desirable? Yeah, to an extent, but not as much as like Abraham Lincoln or George Washington.
Okay, so if it was written in his hand, we'd have a whole lot of money, but we don't.
I think the whole thing was written by him.
All right.
Just as a discrepancy in the signature and the letter itself was just the way he signed things.
Okay, well, you know what? And you're always free to have it checked out by somebody else.
All right.
I'd give you like $1,000.
Yeah, for that, I think I'm going to go to keep it. I'll keep it and either save it for my kids or do something else with it. So.
Okay. Sorry we couldn't make a deal, man.
Thank you. It's not his handwriting? You got to be kidding me. I'm going to try and go ahead and legitimize it 100% and see if I can get some more opinions on it.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
I absolutely love your hair.
Oh, thank you. It hides the gray.
Okay, yeah. If I had hair, I'd have the color. So what do we got here?
We have a book written by John Adams, our 2nd president, and it has an inscription in it.
Okay. John Adams, founding father. I love the founding fathers who were willing to risk everything for an ideal. If we lost the war, John Adams would have been brought back to England. He would have been tried for treason. He would have probably most had live disembowelment and be drawn and quartered.
I'm at the pawn shop today to try to sell an antique book written by John Adams, our 2nd president. I've had the book about 20 years. I'm hoping to get $8,000 for my John Adams book, and I would like to sell it in order to raise money for a nonprofit organization that deals with housing.
This is interesting. Where'd you get it?
I got it from my dad. He had a small little bookstore.
Okay. Yeah, John Adams, he was a pretty amazing guy. Most people don't realize all the founding fathers, they were really young. He was in his 20s when Declaration of Independence was signed. And first vice president of the United States. He was the 2nd president of the United States, so the first president ever have to run a race. And lo and behold, John Adams dies 50 years to the day after the Declaration of Independence was signed. Do you mind if I look at this?
No, please do.
So how much did you want for it? I'm
looking to get $8,000 out of it.
Let me look at this thing. We have treatise on the principles and practice of the action of ejectment by John Adams of the Middle Temple. Okay, I will tell you something. This right here is probably written by the author. The author is John Adams.
just not our John Adams.
What do you mean?
John Adams never wrote a law book, especially for English law, and is John Adams of the Middle Temple.
What does that mean?
The Middle Temple is actually part of the court system in London, kind of like a professional association.
Mm-hmm.
Has nothing to do with our guy.
Really?
Really.
Oh.
I mean, I would love to purchase off you, but like,
Sure, no, I understand.
there's no money here. All I can say is sort of have a nice day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you for looking at it.
Okay. I wonder how many people out there named Rick Harrison.
Hey, how's it going?
Really good.
What do we got?
Got this Ansel Adams Polaroid land photography book.
You mind if I take a look at it?
Go right ahead.
Did you sign it anywhere?
On the first page there's a signature right under the title.
Okay. So where'd you get it?
I actually found it at a thrift store.
These are pretty cool. I believe every high school in the 90s had at least a dozen Ansel Adams prints hanging on the wall.
I have a signed Ansel Adams photography book. It caught my eye, so I pulled it off the shelf. And as I was flipping through the pages, I noticed it was signed. If I'm able to make a sale today, I'm gonna go see a show.
This is interesting. So do you know much about Ansel Adams? Are you a fan or?
What I know about him is the Yosemite photographs that I've seen.
Yeah.
And that's what really caught my attention here.
Ansel Adams is interesting because he's a prime example of an artist that became successful in his lifetime. You know, some of this guy's stuff was huge. He was basically sponsored by Polaroid, and I'm sure they wanted their camera associated with Ansel Adams. You know, the amount of reproduction prints that the guy was able to sell was phenomenal. This guy has photos that have sold for over $700,000.
Wow.
As far as the book itself goes, I mean, it's pretty good condition. I mean, you got a little bit of staining back here, but it's what, probably 40-something years old?
I believe this is late 70s.
Yeah, 1978. So what do you want to do with it?
I'd like to sell it.
What are you looking to get out of it?
I don't know what they go for. I don't know what it's worth, but I figured $100.
I can see, you know, with it being signed and everything, why you would think that. Problem is I guarantee you there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of these out there signed. And it's a coffee table book. Someone's gonna buy it from me, they're gonna put it on their coffee table, and once every few years, somebody's gonna sit there and go through the book. That being said, man, I'd give you about 25 bucks.
How about, would you do 30?
I'm not gonna grind you over $5, man. I'll do 30.
All right.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Come with me, let's do some paperwork.
I didn't get the $100 that I was after, but I paid 99 cents for it. I made an extra 29 bucks. I'll use that money towards the show tonight.